The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind. Because he's following the radical left agenda. Take away your guns. Destroy your Second Amendment. No religion, no anything. Hurt the Bible, hurt God. He's against God. He's against guns. He's against energy, our kind of energy. I don't think he's going to do too well in Ohio.
Oh, my God. Can I say that? Happy Friday, you bastards. Happy Friday. Oh, we made it. Another 88 days. 88 days. We're going to learn to live with 88 days, right? Going to learn to live. What was that? What was that? That was Donald Trump yesterday in Ohio telling us about the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The F was that about? I mean, what is... how exactly will Joe Biden hurt the Bible? Will he use it as a cheap prop whenever he's polling poorly? Will he gas people so that he can use it as a cheap prop when he's polling poorly? Will he be listed as by the State Department as a state spreader of blasphemy? I mean, what is the deal here? The sad truth is Donald Trump has been unable to beat Joe Biden. He has been unable to make any of the socialist, rabid commie stuff stick. So now he's trying to convince America that Joe Biden, who is a devout Roman Catholic, seriously, is the Antichrist. I mean, good luck with that. Just, best of luck to you. I mean, for God's sake, can I just say it that way? It's only August. Leave some room for escalation. This is just the most amazing thing in the world. And, evangelicals, Christian conservatives, they're getting very smart. They're getting very hip to this. They're sick of being used. Welcome to the girls' world. Okay? They're just sick of being used by this man who actually became a joke fest over issues of the Bible and its contents. I mean, we all remember the 2 Corinthians thing. That was at Falwell University. It was so painful.
I asked Jerry and I asked some of the folks because I hear this is a major theme right here.
He hears.
2 Corinthians, right? 2 Corinthians 3:17. That's the whole ball game.
What?
Where the Spirit of the Lord, right? Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And here there is Liberty College, but Liberty University. But it is so true.
2 Corinthians walk into a bar. I mean, one says there's a hurricane and a flood coming. The other one says you're in luck. I know a guy. I mean, it just spawned all these stupid jokes. 2 Corinthians go to the Nile. One goes broke. The other one finds a little profit. You know what I'm saying? 2 Corinthians go to an unemployment office. One is reading a Bible. He says, oh, is it good? He says, I don't know. I heard there's a J-O-B in here. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just, he has no idea what he's talking about. He goes to Liberty University. And by the way, Jerry Falwell has been exposed as a front-running phony, as a complete false freaking Christian. The man was drunk in the morning yesterday. I don't know what it is with Donald Trump and drunks in the morning. Kudlow is drunk before 10 o'clock in the morning. Laura Ingraham is like a wino, okay? She just whines and whines all day. She's, And now we have Jerry Falwell calling into some radio show yesterday to respond to something that made the rounds on social media. There was, there's a band called Trailer Park Boys. But Jerry Falwell had a Trailer Park Boy party on his freaking yacht with shirtless young boys. Come on, QAnon. With shirtless young boys roaming around, smoking cigarettes, getting drunk, touching each other, everything. And then there was this awful photo of Jerry Falwell Jr., right? Who's about to join his dad somewhere. I just look down naturally. It's just an inclination. It's because the spirit moves within me. So when I say Jerry Falwell, I'm sorry, I just automatically look in the direction of where he is. But his son is worse. So his son put on Instagram, he did it, a picture of him with a woman, a young girl, with her pants unzipped and his pants unzipped, with his hand around her waist, drinking. And it made the rounds, and he had to go on a radio show to explain what this was about. And if you don't think he's drunk, give me your phone number. And like I said, when my house catches fire, I will call you, and you can purchase it, because you will. You would be my buyer. But this was him.
What was up with that picture on Instagram?
You know, it was weird because she's pregnant, so she couldn't get her pants zipped, and so I was like trying to I had on a pair of jeans that I haven't worn in a long time, so I couldn't get mine zipped either, and so I just put my belly out like hers, and it was just she's my wife's assistant, and she's a sweetheart, and I should never put it up because it embarrassed her. Because anyway, I've apologized to everybody, and I promised my kids I'm gonna try to be a good boy from here on out.
All right, so was this TV show, this Trailer Park Boys thing?
Yeah, whatever. It was the costume party and we were on vacation, and anyway, long story short, it was just in good fun. That's it.
He's blasted. He's blotto. He's wasted. Okay? And this Trailer Park Boys party that he had on his yacht, everybody in media who cares about putting fact-checked things on their air, like me, I wouldn't play the video, because we couldn't verify it. Nobody knew if it was real or if it was some hoax video or if it was some, manipulated video, because Donald Trump is using doctored photos of Joe Biden now to try. He literally has a doctored photo of Joe Biden praying with Black Lives Matter after the George Floyd murder, and used it to show Joe Biden alone and desperate. You know what I mean? So we didn't know if this video was real. No one did. I know Chris Hayes didn't know if it was, and I wouldn't air it because I didn't know. Apparently it's real. He just admits it, that he had what he's calling a Trailer Park Boys costume party on his yacht, where everyone is shirtless, especially the young men. The pregnant girls have their pants unzipped, and he's got his pants unzipped. Listen, these people are using people of faith to get their money. I mean, it's just a big scam. It's disgusting. It's and Pat Robertson, who's 90. And you know who else is 90 today? Loretta, my mother, is 90. Oh! Yes, the old gray mare, Loretta, is 90 years old today. I had to have a COVID test and wear a mask and gloves, but I was permitted to go see her today in her apartment. And I snuck in there, okay, with permission. I snuck in there, and she got a new balcony added to her apartment. It's brand new, and so we decorated it for her. We built furniture for her. What do you get when you're 90? Rocking chairs. We got her rocking chairs. Anyway, I'm Instagramming pictures of my 90-year-old mother, crying with joy because I built her, me and Howard built her rocking chairs and a table, and, I'm a good gardener, so I planted her a bunch of planters, and she's crying and weeping. And they're 90 years old and Instagramming shirtless boys.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Jeffress?
Yes.
Prayer?
Let's pray together, may we?
Father, I come to you in the name of Jesus.
Have you ever asked God for forgiveness? Why do I have to, repent? Why do I have to ask for forgiveness?
The Pope needs to seek Donald Trump's forgiveness.
He's a I think God put him there. I don't bring God into that picture.
Romans 13 does give President Trump moral authority.
Grab him by the
He's had a change of heart.
To use whatever force necessary.
I'm going to bomb the out of him.
Including assassination.
The Lord is at work here.
Ridiculous bullshit.
You're going to write your checks to Paula White Ministry.
And if you don't support me, you're going to be so goddamn poor.
To say no to President Trump would be saying no to God.
Trump is a test, whether you're even saved.
And everybody said, amen.
I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it. This is a hoax. This is a terrible hoax perpetrated on our country. I am the chosen one.
Wow. They don't waste any time over there, do they, at the Lincoln Pro? They don't waste any time at all. This is just amazing. And people are getting very hip to the fact that Donald Trump is a front-running phony, that Donald Trump is a blasphemer, Donald Trump is a user, Donald Trump is somebody who has absolutely no idea what is in the Bible. I mean, when you asked him, people have asked him over the ages, what's his favorite Bible verse? An eye for an eye. That is the least Christian part of the Bible, okay? That was denounced by Jesus. That's part of the Hebrew Bible. Yeah, we know that. But he's so fake, and people are getting hip to it. People understand. So after he said, this is amazing. Let's just take you through Donald Trump's day yesterday, which started with Governor Mike DeWine of Ohio testing positive for COVID and unable to greet Donald Trump at the airport when he came to Ohio to trash Joe Biden's faith, to trash Joe Biden as a person who is the Antichrist, who will hurt God. Hurt God. So I'm a little confused. Is Biden so weak that he can't be president, but so strong that he can hurt God? It makes no sense what he's saying, right? But he went to the airport. DeWine couldn't come because DeWine said he tested positive for COVID later in the day because DeWine had no symptoms whatsoever, and he also suffers from asthma. He was concerned that he tested positive with this antigen, not antibody, but an antigen test. Those quick tests, they aren't exactly accurate. They're like 87% accurate, which means they're sort of useless. Okay, so he had a second test, a PCR test, which is the real COVID test, and that came back negative, and now he's going to have a third test over the weekend to pick between the three. If you get 2 out of 3, he'll go with that, whatever it is. So that's how it started, okay? And then Trump got to the airport. DeWine couldn't meet him, so he decides to walk up to this microphone with, tens of people. Tens, yes. With tens of people, maskless, gathered around, right? And he pretended he was in Cleveland, but he went to some little burb because he doesn't have the nerve, the nads, to go to Cleveland. He would not be welcome in Cleveland, as everybody in Cleveland knows. So he went to some little burb and went to the Whirlpool factory there. Now, after trashing Biden's faith, you would think that Donald Trump was going to give some sort of rousing speech on issues that matter to people of faith, like equality, like love thy neighbor, like the pandemic, and how, he's assuring people that, he's there, he's on that wall, he'll be the protect, something like that. Let me just play you some of his Ohio speech after he trashed Biden's faith.
They'll, scoff and say, oh, who cares about that? Very big stuff. These are big things. A lot of people have come up. Thank you, sir. They had sinks that didn't give water. They had showers that didn't give water, the whole thing. And
sinks and showers. He talked for a really long time about sinks and showers and the light bulb.
So I put the old bulb back in, and you can use the new one. You can use anything. I guess it's competition. But I particularly like it because I don't look so orange. So it's very nice. Very nice. I don't want to look. I don't like that look. Never liked it.
So uplifting, everybody, in the time of COVID, in a time of, unemployment, in a time of, a stumbling economy. Yes, that is what you want to hear from your It was so uplifting.
We now have the water that you need instead of stupid, where you have much less water than you need, and you just keep going over and over again. I had people say that pressed the button 5 times. They didn't have enough water. And the same thing with sinks, toilets, and showers. You go into a new home, you turn on the faucet, no water comes out. You turn on the shower. If you're like me, you can't wash your beautiful hair properly. You waste 20 minutes longer. Please come out, the water, it drips, right? You know what I'm talking? They put restrictors on. I got rid of that. I signed it out. It's common sense. So now when you actually go into a new home and pay a lot of money, you turn on a faucet and water actually comes out. Isn't that nice? That was a regulation that was put in by a lot of people that don't understand life. Because you end up using the same amount of water. You just let it run 3 times longer.
Paging Sarah Cooper. Paging Sarah Cooper. Holy crap. He talked about sinks and light bulbs. And he actually said these words: sinks are big stuff. Okay, that was what he went to Ohio to talk about. And when he was in front of the microphone at the airport, and no one was there to greet him, he decided that he was going to, he was going to talk about the Holy Trinity: God, guns, and coal. I mean, he's 2 Corinthians short of a Bible is what he is. And yet, he's already attacked. I got to say, this was just so bad. But let me just play you a little clip of Joe Biden in a town hall from last February. This will be a very, very, I'll play the shortest one. And then I'm going to play you something about Joe Biden that you need to know.
On the political implication from what the president said tonight, he blamed the Democrats of playing to advantage. He blamed by name Speaker Nancy Pelosi of trying to create a panic. That was his quote, and that the Democrats are just trying to get political advantage. Your response?
Ash Wednesday. I mean, look, this is, folks, I don't care who you're for. This is bizarre, absolutely bizarre. The president from the beginning is basically saying, don't worry, no problem here. And he goes and he takes away the office we set up that's designed to deal with pandemic disease. He eliminated it in the White House, number one. Number two, he tried to defund the CDC. He tried to defund the NIH. He did not have a plan to deal with how you equip hospitals that are going to be able to take care of people, to have the right docs, the right capacity, and the right ability to contain. None of that happened in
February.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. Let's bring in Reverend Anthony Thompson, the pastor of the Holy Trinity Reformed Episcopal Church in Charleston. His wife, Myra, was one of the 9 killed in the shooting during a Bible study at Charleston's Emmanuel AME Church in June of 2015. Reverend, we're sorry for your loss. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Good evening, Vice President Biden. You, along with President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, came to Charleston when this tragedy occurred. You directly and personally came to encourage us. So thank you very much. The Emmanuel 9 tragedy showed that Charleston is separated and divided by racism. Mayor Tecklenburg formed an advisory council of pastors with different denominations and faiths to focus on reconciliation and cross-cultural awareness. He demonstrated his faith in the decision-making of our city. My question is, what is your faith, and how would you use your faith in making decisions for our nation?
Well, Reverend, I kind of know what it's like to lose family. And my heart goes out to you. As you may remember, after Barack and Michelle and I were there, and my family, I came back on that Sunday to regular service because I had just lost my son. And I wanted some hope because what you all did was astounding. I don't know if you all know this. All those who died, were killed by this white supremacist, they forgave him. They forgave him. The ultimate act of Christian charity, they forgave him. And you know, Reverend, I'm not proselytizing here. I happen to be a practicing Catholic. But I went back to the church because I found, particularly, the black church. In this case, it was an AME. It was not an Episcopal church. I found that there's that famous phrase from Kierkegaard, faith sees best in the dark. I find the one thing it gives me, and I'm not trying to proselytize, I'm not trying to convince you to share my religious views. But for me, it's important because it gives me some reason to have hope and purpose. I've learned the only way, I don't know how you've dealt with it, Reverend, but the way I've been able to deal with when my wife was killed and my daughter were killed and then my son died, I've only been able to deal with it by realizing they're part of my being. My son, Bo, is my soul. And what I found was I had to find purpose. Purpose. And what was the purpose? Every day I get up, and I'm sorry to go on, I apologize, but every day I get up, I literally, and not a joke, Reverend, and I think you know this about my boy, that I ask myself, I hope he's proud of me today, because he asked me when he was dying, promise me, Dad, promise me, Dad, promise me. He said, I know no one loves me more than you do, Dad, but promise me you'll stay engaged. He knew I'd take care of the family, but he worried what I would do is I would pull back and go into a shell and not do all the things I've done before. It took a long time for me to get to the point to realize that that purpose is the thing that would save me. And it has. And every morning I get up and I say to myself, and I give you my word as a Biden, I hope he's proud of me. Hope he's proud of me.
But sinks are big stuff. You know, sinks are big. And the bad light bulbs have got to go. You need an incandescent light bulb in order for Donald Trump to look pleasing to Donald Trump, right? This was the big speech he had to give yesterday. This was it. I mean, honestly, Joe Biden's entire campaign is based on the soul of this nation. That is what his mantra has been at the beginning when he first, said he was going to get in the race. It was because the soul of the nation was imperiled. It just made me so angry because the front-running phonies, the literally blasphemous, false idols, the people who are out there surrounding Donald Trump, laying hands on Donald Trump, vouching for Donald Trump, excusing Donald Trump's lack of understanding of anything having to do with anything bigger than himself, no matter what that is so vile and so reprehensible. But then to stand there and point at Joe Biden, who is a practicing devout Catholic, whose religion has been the sustenance in his life that's helped him get through the tragedy of losing his wife and daughter, losing his son, Bo. It's so tragic. It's just so sad to watch a bloated, used up, never was, never will be success, an orange blowhard, a bully, a disorienter, a person who has no care for the American people, even in the middle of a pandemic, doesn't even reassure people, doesn't tell anybody what to do, or he just blames, the governors are in charge. No, we needed a national, coordinated, one whole of nation response. He refused to do it. He's too lazy. He's too self-centered. He's too stupid to do it. And so it's just, wow, sad. And then on top of it, He uses doctored photos. First, he totally trashes the way Joe Biden does have in his life a faith that believes in something bigger than Joe Biden. But he also then tweets out some fake photos, doctored photos of Joe Biden.
Backlash over an ad from the Trump campaign using or manipulating pictures of Joe Biden. What went on here?
Yeah, so I have to credit our colleague, Andrew Kaczynski, who spotted one of these. The new Trump ad attempts to portray Joe Biden as stuck in his Delaware basement. He's hiding, he's alone. And to make this point, it uses 3 misleading images, one of which is egregiously altered with probably Photoshop. So that first image shows Joe Biden speaking at a campaign town hall in Iowa at a nature preserve outdoors in September 2019. And what the ad does is remove the microphone from Biden's hand and remove the trees from the background, replacing it with a wall of some sort to make Biden seem like he's inside alone, not talking to anyone. Now, there's a second image they use to make this point that he's hiding and alone. It shows Biden sitting on a floor in what looks like a basement. There's like an empty recliner behind him. That photo was taken at a Holiday Bowl watch party, a house party in Iowa as well in December 2019. There were a bunch of people in the room, including a bunch of reporters, one of which was from CNN. And in a third misleading use of an image in that ad, they also show Biden sort of looking down, hands clasped, looking defeated. Well, he was actually praying.
He was actually praying. I mean, I just, okay, so are we ready to vote? Ready? Everybody, I mean, he hasn't even announced who his VP is, and quite frankly, I don't care.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
John Lewis is lying in state in the U.S. Capitol. How do you think history will remember John Lewis?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know John Lewis. He chose not to come to my inauguration. He chose. I never met John Lewis, actually. I don't believe.
Do you find him impressive?
I can't say one way or the other. I find a lot of people impressive. I find many people not impressive. But no, but I didn't go.
Do you find his story impressive?
He didn't come to my inauguration. He didn't come to my State of the Union speeches. And that's okay. That's his right. And again, nobody has done more for black Americans than I have.
I understand.
He should have come. I think he made a big mistake.
But taking your relationship with him out of it, do you find his story impressive, what he's done for this country?
He was a person that devoted a lot of energy and a lot of heart to civil rights, but there were many others also.
There's a petition to rename the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama as the John Lewis Bridge. Would you support that idea?
I would have no objection to it if they'd like to do it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Would have no objection to it whatsoever.
Okay.
That's God's candidate, everybody. That is God's chosen person. Trashing John Lewis, who fought with his body, literally, was beaten many times to bring voting rights and civil rights to the fore, to get it passed in a Congress when he was a young man, continued to fight, I mean, for equal rights in this country, for everybody, for LGBT, for just everybody. Believed in equal rights with his whole being, worked for it, got it done, okay? And Donald Trump did more for black people than he did. Donald Trump's done more for black people than LBJ, who signed the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act of 64 and 65 into law, knowing he would lose the South, that all of the Dixiecrats would become Republicans, and they did. Hence, the South has been a solid Republican bloc since. It started pretty much in 1948, the flip, when Truman included a civil rights platform in the Democratic platform. And then it just escalated and escalated as Brown versus Board in 54, and schools were desegregated. And then in the Civil Rights Acts of 64 and the Voting Rights Act of 60, that did it for the South. They were done. They were done, okay? And they became a Republican voting bloc because of civil rights, because of guys like John Lewis. And Donald Trump has no idea about that history any more than he understands 2 Corinthians 13, okay? He doesn't understand basic stuff about America, about the Bible he professes is his favorite book, but cannot name a verse or why it's his favorite. Just can't. If there is the remotest chance that this president has a clue about religion, he has squandered those chances to tell you, show you, to put his words into actions. I mean, we are in the middle of a freaking pandemic, and he refuses to become involved in it. He doesn't understand what peace and equality is, and that is the message of God, okay? Whether you accept that there is one or I don't care. You know, I've always said it's personal. You do whatever it takes to get you through your days. That's what you do. And it's fine with me, whatever it is. If you ever wanted to tell me what it was, that'd be fine, even if it was different than what I think or what I do or my actions or what makes me get up every morning trying to do nice things for people or trying to do the next right thing, okay? Because that's all you can do. That's all you can do in this life is the next right thing. So I always say, do the right thing when no one's looking. That's kind of the philosophy that, you know, I have. But whatever it is that you use to make you understand that you need to do the next right thing. You need to do the right thing when no one's looking. Whatever that is, whether it's just your instinct or it's a faith or it's a belief in something bigger than yourself, like it could be karma. I don't care. I don't care. This man has none of that. And he has no understanding that is what everyone does every day in order to live a good life. He doesn't get it. I mean, he doesn't understand anything that's taught. He doesn't understand anything that's rational. He doesn't ask questions. He's the most incurious person you will ever know. But for him to sit there and question all of us and how we get through it every single day while he's AWOL all the time on everything that matters, from this stimulus package that still isn't done, and today is Friday, you bastards, okay? And it's still not done. And for him to sit there and not be in the negotiations after bragging he's the world's greatest negotiator, for Mitch McConnell not to be in the negotiations, and then on top of it to go to Ohio and to use Ohioans' time and belief that he can keep them safe in a pandemic if they show up for him, right? Thunderbolts ought to come out from the Secret Service ought to be scanning the sky for thunderbolts to come down and strike this man. Strike him. He is a religious illiterate. He is a philosophical illiterate. Okay? He's an action illiterate. He doesn't know what to do. But he will use people as long as he needs electoral votes, and not a moment longer. You know that. Second he's out of office, he's going to trash every one of these fakes and frauds on TV, and that they were, Jerry Falwell was a drunk, and that this one was selling food buckets. Okay, these are the evangelicals that he goes to, the ones that, it's just very sick. Jim Baker with his food buckets. And now he's got Mexican food buckets. And then he tells you to decorate your house with the food buckets. You put a piece of plywood over the massive order of food buckets you're going to make. And then you put a piece of plywood, and then you put a tablecloth on top. There's your food bucket furniture. I mean, these are some sick people. All for the love of gold. All for the love of silver. All for the love of a few shekels. And we all know what that does to a person. I mean, this is just... So let me ask you this. Because I know Christian conservatives have had it. I know they're done with being used by this man. The question is, and they can't answer it, why would the White House, full of scandals, why would a White House, a lazy White House, a scandalous White House, a White House that is constantly having to say they don't know this person, they don't really know that person, when there's photographic evidence of them with these people over and over and over again, why would that lead to a Christian revival? Answer, it doesn't. It wears people out, okay? And they feel like they tried. They tried. Maybe he, really was sent by God to destroy bad. But this, you elected Donald Trump, and there was a plague. Are you blind? Are you deaf? Are you dumb? You elected him, and God sent a plague. What more do you need? Murder hornets? Done. Hurricanes in the middle of a pandemic? Check and check. Gassing people to take a stupid photo op with a Bible like the Antichrist in front of St. John's Episcopal Church? Removing peaceful protest. And then for no apparent reason, running over to the St. John Paul II National Shrine with his wife. God sent a plague. He's trying to tell you something. He is trying to show you the error of supporting the Antichrist himself. Fake photos. Now look, in an earlier time, what Donald Trump said about Joe Biden, who is a devout Catholic, would be considered an anti-Catholic smear, right? And he would be run out on a rail. Run out on a rail. But everybody understands that Donald Trump hasn't even given this enough thought to be offensive to the Catholics, okay? All Catholic, but you know that Al Smith dinner, where the Cardinal from New York attends and all this stuff, I just don't see him being invited back. I just don't. We got drunk Jerry Falwell. We got him trashing John Lewis, a man of great faith. This is from a man with 3 baby mamas and 5 kids that he didn't raise.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream.
Change has come to America.
Believe it. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Breaking news just moments ago, the July jobs report showing 1.8 million jobs added. The unemployment rate now 10.2%. Back with us, Christine Romans, also joining us, CNN anchor and correspondent Julia Chatterley. So, Christine, as we look at this, a little bit better than expected. But what stands out to you here? What should the real takeaway be?
Well, you can see that as the economy was slowly starting to reopen for business, the very people who were fired first were starting to get hired back. So bars, restaurants, retail stores, you saw people being hired back at clothing, apparel stores and clothing accessory stores. So that's where you were starting to see some of the hiring. There's some government jobs in here, too, and also healthcare jobs. They added some jobs in healthcare. So a resumption of activity in the beginning of July meant some of these people going back to work. This is a rear view mirror picture, though. So as you saw the hot spots worsening in the end of July in the South, did that start to spill into more layoffs, a second wave of layoffs for early August? We just don't know quite yet. So 10.2% unemployment, still worse than the Great Recession, but improving a little bit here. And for Black Americans, that unemployment rate, 14.6%. So you're still seeing that racial disparity in these numbers that are so troubling.
It's just, wow, just hideous. I mean, this is a 10.2% unemployment, and they're saying that's good news. That's really good. How could 10.2% unemployment be good news? Only in Trump land could that be good news. Listen, here's the raw numbers, okay? So when we shut down in March and April, we shed, this is the word, we shed virus and we shed jobs. We shed 22 million jobs. 1.8 million people were hired back to those jobs out of the 22 million who were sidelined by the shutdown because Idiot Boy wouldn't do anything at the onset, like, testing and contact tracing and quarantining people when we only had 15 people, or when we only had 60 people, or when we only had 100 cases, or when we only had 2,000 cases. No, he wouldn't do it. And so what we have is 42% of the job market lost to the pandemic's recession. That's what we have. 42% of Americans lost their jobs. So minus 22 million jobs in March and April, and last month we added 1.8 million, not jobs, people back. So there is no recovery. And then, of course, you know what happened in July. The numbers, the positivity rate started ticking up. People had to shut down again. People had to, close again. People had to end indoor dining. They had to end bar service. They had to end, a lot of things. So, let's not lose sight of where we are. We're not in good shape. And only he will say, well, this was a great job, but we added 1.8 million jobs. We didn't add any jobs. People who were furloughed, 1.8 million of them out of the 22 million were called back, and they've probably been sent home anew because he's an idiot, okay? And that's why we need the stimulus package. The recovery is slowing.
Previous month, there were more than 4 million jobs added. So this is actually a dramatic slowdown in job creation. Why?
The recovery is slowing. As Christine Roman said, we are 3 weeks old in terms of collecting this data. We simply can't collect data quick enough for how fast the health crisis is escalating around the country. This is a really important point, and what this is saying to us is we're at an inflection point. Yes, we managed to add over 1.8 million jobs in the month of July, but then we need to take a step back. What we're seeing in some of the details here is that even though we're talking about an unemployment rate of 10.2%, they're saying we've still got this misclassification error. Actually, if the number of people that were unemployed said that rather than said they were absent, we've got an 11.2% approximately unemployment rate. There are challenges here too, in that there are 7.7 million people that simply didn't look for work in the last 4 weeks. They'd like a job, they can't find it. When you start to add some of the details in, you recognise we're still facing a huge jobs crisis in this country. Next month could actually see a deterioration to the point where we're losing jobs. We can't get that yet, but more frequent data is warning that we're seeing a reversal in the job gains. So this is not an accurate reflection, I think, of where the economy is. There's nothing in these numbers that says pull back on the financial aid.
Right. So we need the stimulus because we have this crazy stop, start approach to this pandemic. We close, we reopen, we close, we reopen. The numbers go up, the numbers go down when we close. Then they go up, then they go down when we close. And we always have to start over and over and over and over. It's like being forced to our knees and then flat on our back. So, it's just so ridiculous. But they're literally, the GOP, they're celebrating 10.2% unemployment and African-American unemployment, 14%. And Donald Trump, I've done more for black people than anybody, ever, besides Lincoln. Are you insane? Trashing John Lewis, that for me just sticks in my craw. But there is no economic recovery at all. We're learning to live with this the same way we have to learn to live with a pandemic. I'll tell you this. What we've learned here is that we can survive a lot of damage. That's the beauty of us, okay? But hiring obviously has slowed and firing continues unabated. Paul Krugman in the New York Times today called it a dead cat bounce. That is an insult to dead cats everywhere, although I appreciate what he's trying to explain in very simple terms to Americans. And that is when consumer spending gets pulled back because people are insecure or they're not working and they don't have cash and they can't pay basic bills, the spiraling effect of the economy begins. And the less consumer spending, the less jobs we have, because the more you buy, the more inventory we need. Supply and demand, right? There could be supply right now, but there's no demand. If there's no demand, there's no inventory ordering. There's no restocking. There's no creating new and by the way, manufacturing is just, it's in the toilet. It's in the toilet. I think for the entire quarter, we had 26,000 manufacturing jobs that people went back to. That's it. This is horrible. And, when you look at ADP numbers, the firm ADP, they're a data processing firm, and they look at things like employment and recoveries and what shape it'll be. And he keeps saying it's going to be a V shape. It's an L. It's an L. It's flat like that. Like that. L for loser is what it is. Okay? And ADP is saying that the amount of jobs that will never come back because these businesses went out of business, the gains we would need to make can't even be achieved until 2027. See, this is the thing. Remember 2008 when they crashed the economy? The Republicans did. Remember that? It took us forever to get back to approximately where we were. It's like treading water, and it's exhausting and you don't get anywhere, right? But it took us that long from 2008 till 2016, 8 years of treading water to even build back to where we were without an increase in the minimum wage, without whatever. And now we're looking at the same long slog. We're looking at 7 years to just get back to where we were before these morons were in charge of a pandemic. These morons were in charge of taxation. These morons were in charge of the economy. I mean, it's horrendous. But remember, whatever Trump says will happen, count on the opposite. He said the number of cases would soon go to zero. Obviously, we had a huge pandemic, right? They said a V-shaped recovery. We got an L-shaped recovery. It's stalled. Anything he says, the opposite is true.
Go for launch. Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
The United States is approaching troubling milestones in the coronavirus pandemic. The country is inching closer to confirming 5 million cases.
The death toll took another jump yesterday and now is nearing 160,000.
Nearly 1.2 million people filed for jobless benefits for the first time last week.
It's the 20th straight week where more than 1 million people filed a claim. About 55 million Americans have now filed for unemployment since the beginning of the pandemic.
And it really shines a light on those negotiations happening in Washington, because just last week,
the extra $600 a week in federal unemployment benefits expired.
This unemployment insurance benefit is still a major sticking point. Republicans, though, they have moved,
doubling their offer to $400 per week.
It's fair to say that Republicans have made far more concessions than Democrats in the room.
Though Democrats are holding firm on 6.
Why can't you go across the aisle and say, can we give a huge chunk of money to the people who are disenfranchised?
Perhaps you mistook them for somebody who gives a damn.
Education is also a big thing. State and local, those are the things they're going to be talking about.
And the president has said if Congress doesn't get a deal done, he'll take executive action.
Removing the payroll tax and paying out unemployment insurance. There is one action that the president could be taking, and that is getting involved in these negotiations.
Yeah, he's not there. He's not in the room. And neither is Mitch McConnell. They aren't even there. They're not even in the room. It's just, this is a tragic thing. And I don't know how many people can hang on for, 88 days to vote. And then the lame duck period where Donald Trump will still be president and the Congress will still be the Congress in waiting for January 20th. I don't know what fresh hell we have in store for us, but trust me, it ain't going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. And the thing to do right now is to get the money out the door. To get the money out the door. Amy in LA.
Oh, shit.
Oh, no. Dumper. Yeah, sorry. Don't curse on my air. I need to comply with all FCC regulations. You cannot curse on my air. I have to hang up on you, and then I have to dump you, and you bring my entire show to a screeching halt because now I have to wait for the delay to build back up because you're a potty mouth. Anyway, we're in trouble over here, okay? We need the stimulus money to go out the door. Today is Friday. I told you the House has already gone home. Nancy Pelosi and Mnuchin and Mark Meadows, believe it or not, are all in meetings, meeting. She's been calling, anybody she can call late into the night, trying to make them understand that the more money, the more stimulus that is put in the hands of people who need the money the most, who will use the money immediately to do things like pay rent, buy food, make their car payment, pay their mortgage, pay their electric bill. The more money those people have, the better our economy could be. The spiral starts when consumers don't have money to consume. That's when the downward spiral begins. This is a bubble up economy, not a top down economy. And so, we're waiting. And I don't know. I mean, every report that I have, is like, they're worlds apart and they can't agree. Their $200 has now gone up to $400. She wants the $600 because that's $15 an hour for a 40-hour week, and these people have done absolutely nothing to lose their job. It's not that they've quit. It's not that they stay home. It's not that they are lazy. It's not. And the people who are making $175,000 a year, who are already millionaires anyway, the Senate, right? These senators, $600 is too much money for you. Too much money for you. I mean, how many times are you going to listen to the president's henchmen say that?
That was one of the things that the White House heard from a lot of the small businesses was it's very difficult to get our workers back into our ranks, to get things back open, up and running again, because the government has now come up with this universal wage, and it's making them, the workers, not want to get off the couch and come back to work. And why would you? If the government's paying you more than the business, then your job
the White House
would.
now.
These people make me so ill. Like Hogan Gidley is living on $15 an hour. So, it's just like, shut up. Omar in Virginia.
Randi, thank you so much for taking my call. The interesting thing, why can't they just increase the minimum wage to $15? Everybody would get back to work if they're talking about.
The thing is, if $600 a week is more than you make actually toiling, if it's more than you make actually working every single day for 40 hours a week, then something's wrong with wages in this country. Something's wrong with the minimum wage, right? It's not the other way around.
Yeah, and the thing is that doesn't the 1% need the 99%?
No, they don't. They live off their money. So they do. Honestly, they do. And that's why capital gains, which is money making money, right, is taxed at a lower rate than labor, meaning you going out to work, you're taxed at a higher rate than the lousy 10% that people who live off their money are taxed. It's a sin. Gotcha. It's completely backwards. It's right. And so, no, they don't need us. Who does need us is, people that make things, manufacturing companies, people who hold your. Listen, landlords, a good chunk of landlords are ordinary citizens who, had inherited a house and decided to lease it out, right? And they count on that income too. So if the people that they've rented to can't make the payment, they get hurt too. That's the spiral. That's how it so let's not think about the top 1% because no, they don't need anything.
Yeah. The real quick, Randi, Biden's going to have two issues when he gets elected, a domestic issue and a foreign issue. And I think Susan Rice would be a good candidate because Biden will be occupied with dealing with the coronavirus, the social unrest, the economy, how basically rebuilding this government that this clown destroyed. And Susan Rice is going to be addressing the foreign service issues, dealing with China, dealing with Russia, the Middle East. Israel is about to annex part of Palestine. So I think she'd be a good candidate for him. She's all right.
Listen, I don't really care who it is because, the reason why you look at the VP is just in case something happens to the president, right? This would be an unelected president. And so it's important that is a person of substance. Right now, our vice president is a conservative talk show host from Indiana, okay? And our president is a reality TV star.
Yeah.
So anybody that Biden would pick, Kamala, Susan Rice, Stacey Abrams, anybody that he would pick, Elizabeth Warren, I couldn't care less because they're all better than a Indiana conservative talk show host and a TV reality star. Okay, so and Biden has foreign policy chops. Whether we agree with his foreign policy positions, that's a whole other debate. But he's got that. So how much foreign policy experience do you have to have? I don't know. If you want a lot, Susan Rice. If you want domestic policy, you want the economy straightened out for the middle class, Elizabeth Warren. If you want justice reform, Kamala Harris, because she's an ex-prosecutor. So you got a lot to choose for you.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
So Obama's talking about all of this with the global warming and that, and a lot of it's a hoax. It's a hoax. I mean, it's a money-making industry, okay?
As global temperatures continue to rise, experts say humans will face
worse and worse heat waves and superstorms and floods and wildfires.
Thank you, everybody. Now we're being hindered by the Russian hoax.
U.S. intelligence officials are warning of a new election interference threat coming from the same source as 2016, Russia.
This hoax should never happen to another president. Now the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus, and this is their new hoax.
As the pandemic ravages the U.S.,
more than 150,000 Americans have now died.
We've got a real problem, and it stems from the leadership.
A lot of it's a hoax.
It's a hoax.
Oh! It's coming from inside the house. Oh my God. It's inside the house. Line 2. All right.
Hillary Clinton.
Hey. Calm down. Stop yelling at Brett, okay?
No. I just don't understand why you guys don't give us the voice.
Why we don't? What?
Yes, ma'am.
Why we don't what?
Okay, why? Listen, every time I bring up a fact,
what
you
fact?
guys cut me off.
Hey, Ken.
Okay, Planned Parenthood, come on, man. Agree with me. Has murdered half of the black population since 1974. That's a fact. But you don't want to say that on TV, do you?
I'm just letting you talk. I'm not even going to participate in your crazy.
That's not craziness. That's a fact.
What's a fact?
Okay, how many babies has Planned Parenthood killed in the black community?
I don't know.
You do know.
No, I don't.
Because you're supposed to be a journalist, right?
Oh, there's no records. People's health records are
because
private. We have
Planned Parenthood hides the record.
No, it's called HIPAA, Ken. It's privacy law.
HIPAA? Yeah. Imagine that. If HIPAA was real, they couldn't say anything about my mental illness. If I had a mental illness.
If you did, right.
Right?
That's true. They could not.
Okay, why are you blocking this on your TV?
You're on the TV.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Point blank. What has Democrats done for the black community since 1969?
Okay, so let's look at civil rights.
Okay, look.
Let's
civil
look
rights.
At voting rights.
Okay, civil rights.
Yes.
Okay, John Lewis.
Right.
Who beat up John Lewis back in 1969?
Bull Connor.
Okay, you're correct. Okay, who was he?
He was a guy who left the Democratic Party at the Democratic.
Oh,
National
He
Committee.
left
Yeah.
Democratic Party.
He left in 1963 because he was for segregation. So did George Wallace.
Okay,
They
who
left.
voted against segregation back in 1969?
Who voted against?
Democrats.
No.
Why don't you post this? Why don't you say the truth on TV? Come on. Most of Americans look at this, but you guys want to destroy our history.
So, Ken, can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Why do African Americans support the Democratic Party like 99% of them?
You tell me that question.
Because we actually care about their lives.
No, you don't.
Yes, we do.
You depend on them for your votes.
No, we don't.
Yes, ma'am.
No.
Yes, ma'am.
No.
That is totally correct.
Uh-huh.
Okay, soon. Okay, Trump is changing this. Okay, Trump has done in 3 years
No,
what
African
Democrats
Okay.
haven't
Ken,
done.
You're wrong.
In 50 years.
Yeah.
What has... Okay, listen. Okay, what has...
All right, he'll just keep talking. He has no idea he's on. He has no idea he's on. Only reason why I put him on is because he's driving Brett crazy. Okay, he's been calling since before the show started. Okay, and we kept him on hold for a while, and then you know how I work, and then toward this part of the hour I take some calls, and he kept hanging up, and there's a timer, so I know who's been holding for over an hour. I know Tisha in New York is on hold for 49 minutes, so she's next, right? He keeps hanging up and the timer keeps resetting and he's screwing up it. Also, we have a 30-day rule. So you shouldn't be on the air more than once in 30 days. We do make exceptions for a guy like Aaron in New Mexico, he's always on my mind, Aaron is. Why do I make an exception? Because Aaron in New Mexico is taking care of a girlfriend with cancer and a elderly mother with Alzheimer's by himself in New Mexico. So guys like that, they need to talk, no problem. Just saying. All right, Tisha in New York, like I said.
Hello.
Hi.
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 Thanks for taking my call.
Sure. Do you
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, do you want to talk to Ken or no?
No. You did that for me. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just have a quick question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Southern District of New York, which I'm born and raised, Brooklyn girl.
Me too.
Park Slope.
Canarsie.
Okay. When he is found guilty of tax evasion
and fraud,
do you think President Trump will be the first president of the United States to serve time, go to jail?
My fingers are crossed. I don't know if you can see, but from your mouth to God's ears, okay? If there's any justice in the world and this man can avoid it, then I don't believe in justice at all.
That's my feeling because as an African American, men in my community have gone to jail for less.
Yeah.
Paid heavy prices.
Yeah.
With their lives, like a fictitious threat of using a counterfeit 20. So if Trump gets away with this, with just paying a hefty fine or paying back the government and gets to collect Secret Service for the rest of his life after doing this to America, then it's going to be a lot of people who don't believe in America after that. That's my opinion.
I hear you and I feel you. I feel the same way. If there's no justice for a man who is obviously a criminal, a crook, a cheat, a fraud, who inflates his assets for certain reasons, deflates his assets for the purpose of taxes, who is corrupt and launders payments through law firms and, literally won't rent to black people, gets caught, does it again, right? If there's no come to Jesus moment for a man like that in America, there is no justice. We know we have, different justice systems for different economic, situations, but This is in front of everybody's face, and he has to pay. He has to have consequences.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Donald Trump is 74 years old, and he has never faced any consequences. When Donald Trump was called to serve in Vietnam, his powerful father used his money to buy his privileged son 5 separate deferments. But what about the kids who weren't rich? And what poor kids without a rich father had to take Donald Trump's place 5 times on the battlefield? When Donald Trump repeatedly lied to the American people about the coronavirus,
I think that at some point that's going to sort of just disappear.
Deliberately spreading lies that caused over 155,000 Americans to die agonizing deaths alone. Not one single doctor ever stood up in the White House briefing room and had the courage to say, "Do not listen to the president. He is lying to you." Instead, they praised him.
He's been so attentive to the scientific literature and the details and the data.
When Donald Trump bragged on camera about sexually assaulting women, it should have immediately ended his presidential campaign, and he should have faced criminal charges. But instead, his third wife, so desperate to be the first lady, rushed to cover for him.
I know how some men talk. They were kind of a boy talk.
When Donald Trump had multiple bankruptcies, he should have lost his businesses and suffered the same consequences everyone else would have. But instead, corrupt banks like Deutsche Bank stepped in to rescue him, perpetuating the false image that Trump was rich and successful. When Donald Trump cheated on his wife and had unprotected sex with porn stars, his daughter refused to even say it was wrong.
I think it's a pretty inappropriate question to ask a daughter.
When it was revealed that Vladimir Putin had put bounties on the heads of U.S. soldiers and that Donald Trump knew about it and did nothing to defend the United States, he should have been impeached and removed from office. But instead, his army of enablers defended him. Time and time again, people have stepped in and covered for Donald Trump. For 74 years, Donald Trump has gotten away with one crime after another. But on November 3rd, you can take away Donald Trump's power. And when he's not President Trump, he will have to face charges for the crimes he's committed. On November 3rd, you're the jury in the case of the people versus Donald Trump. It's up to you.
Yep. I'm with you, Trish. I'm there. I just think that he is the biggest crook that ever walked the face of the planet. To serve in a powerful position, let alone the most powerful position that the United States has, the commander-in-chief, the chief executive officer, the president of the United States. I mean, Richard Nixon was a crook. He was a criminal. And a lot of people went to jail around Richard Nixon. But, Gerald Ford, is and we had the same every time you find somebody in power who is, violating the law, violating the American people, that is a crook, a criminal, a thief, a burglar, whatever. The next president pardons them because America doesn't believe in prosecuting political enemies. This man is going to be charged. He's going to be indicted on running a criminal enterprise. Obviously, he's lost his charity. He's lost it. The NRA is next to go. You know that. Letitia, what's her name? The Attorney General of New York. Letitia James. She is prosecuting the NRA as a corrupt organization. And because of the self-dealing and the $13 million, golden parachute that Wayne LaPierre and others took for them. I mean, the money laundering, we don't know yet if she's got evidence of the $30 million that the NRA gave to the Trump organization was laundered from Russia. But we're going to find all this stuff out. And if our next president of the United States, Joe Biden, says, well, he's a devout Catholic. He is. And he believes in forgiveness. He does. But if he does that and he gives Donald Trump some sort of an out, some sort of a pardon, it will hurt this country as much as knowing Donald Trump is our president every day hurts us. that a man who started a campaign by calling Mexicans rapists and murderers, and then contends that he's done more for minorities than Abraham Lincoln. The sickness of it. I don't know what to say, but I get that there's a dilemma with regard to Donald Trump and an indictment that is surely coming once he's not president, and what a Joe Biden would do. It's interesting. Johnny in Texas.
Hello. Yeah?
Hello.
First of all, I love it whenever you turn the tables on Republicans, specifically on evangelical Republicans, when you use their own words and logic against them, like when they love to blame Florida hurricanes on the gay and lesbian and trans community. Very good, Randy. Number two, why I called.
If they again, I just want
to. I think it had something to do with maybe your call screener can tell
the
you.
The Dixiecrats. You wanted to talk about the Dixiecrats a little bit, Johnny.
Oh yeah, Dixiecrats. That's right.
Right.
Listen, I've got this notion that the so-called Dixiecrats were always Republicans from day one, and it wasn't because of legislation signed into law that turned them into Republicans. They just decided to be open Republicans. That's my contention.
Well, the real history. Not their words. Well, the real history of the South and their Democratic, affiliation was. The Republicans freed the slaves. Abraham Lincoln was a Republican, right? And everything changed when Democrats decided to be on the side of African Americans. When Democrats decided that the party platform, and they did this in 1948 with Harry Truman, at Harry Truman's convention, the platform included civil rights. Not that anything happened to advance that. It didn't. But it put the people who were Democrats against Lincoln's freeing of the slave type Republicanism. It put them in mind that, things could be flipping. Well, I got news for you. And when the Civil Rights Act of 64 and 65 Voting Rights Act were actually signed into law by LBJ, when it was actually happening. Look, you got to remember we had Brown versus Board in 1954. That creeped them out too. Remember, the Democrats were the opposite of Republicans. Everything flipped around beginning in 48, then in 54, then in 64, then in 65, when it became very real that Democrats were going to be the Abraham Lincolns, that they were going to be the people who fought to get black people elected, that they were going to be the people who believed in affirmative action, that they were the people that were going to get a black justice like Thurgood. I don't know why I'm so crazy today, but anyway, that they were going to take up the mantle of civil rights. That's when the Democrats became Republicans and Republicans became Democrats. It just flipped around. Whoever takes up the mantle of equal rights or justice for all, for real, whoever fights for more representation for people of color, whether they be Hispanic or black or indigenous or they are Muslim, like Keith Ellison, like Rashida Tlaib, that's what scares Republicans away from the Democratic Party, because we changed places. Here's where we're changing places in a bigger way, in a really big way. Take it outside of the United States. So for the very longest time, we have been the consumers of the world, and other countries have been the cheap labor of the world, right? Right. We're about to flip places now. We're about to be we are the cheap labor in the service sector, that's for sure. But we're about to be the cheap labor in the world, and the Chinese middle and upper middle class, they're going to be the consumers of the world. 1 billion of them versus 350 million of us, right? That is another flip that's happening in the world, where you would think, but the Chinese communists, they don't believe in a middle class. They don't believe in, watch this happen. Donald Trump's trade war with China sped that up. You know, the trade war is over, and we lost. You know that, right? That's why he doesn't talk about it anymore. Now he calls the virus a China virus because Donald Trump is a loser. He lost that negotiation. Our farmers literally had a boycott on their soybeans, had a boycott on their product. He trashed our country. Trashed it. So always be on the lookout for when things are changing. Because in a nanosecond, Democrats become Republicans. Republicans become Democrats over an issue of equality and fairness, right? Which Lincoln used to, represent as a Republican. That all flipped in the mid-50s and the mid-60s for that 10-year period. Same thing's going to happen now with labor. But have a good weekend. Happy birthday, Ma!